Okay, everybody, it's time to get up and have a stretch and be silly.
Yay!
This is a socially sanctioned time to be silly. All right, here we go. Just copy me, do what I do, and try not to bump into anybody else. The dragons are coming. A sword for my right hand. We'll chase all those dragons and save our good land. More dragons are coming. A sword for my left hand. We'll chase all those dragons and save our good land. More dragons are coming. A sword for my right foot. We'll chase all those dragons. We'll turn them to soot. More dragons are coming. A sword for my left foot. We'll chase all those dragons. We'll make them kaput. More dragons are coming. A sword for my teeth. We'll chase all those dragons. We'll give them some grief. More dragons are coming. What's this before my eyes? I must need glasses. They're only dragonflies. The title of this exciting story is The Loathsome Dragon, and it's an old English folk and fairy tale which is retold in this version by David Weisner and his wife Kim, and the wonderful illustrations are by David Weisner himself. In Bamborough Castle there lived a king who had 2 children, a son named Child Wind and a daughter named Margaret. Both children were as fair as a summer's morning and were admired not only for their beauty, but also for their bravery. In time, Child Wind went forth to travel the world, and his sister Margaret stayed there at home with their father, who was a widower. When their father, the king, was hunting one day, he chanced to meet a magnificently beautiful woman. He did not know that she was an enchantress. He instantly fell in love with her, married her, and sent word home that he was bringing a new queen to Bamborough Castle. Princess Margaret was startled to hear that she would soon have a new queen, but she was pleased that her father was so happy. On the appointed day, she greeted the king and his new queen at the gate with the keys to the castle in her hands. Princess Margaret bowed low and said sweetly, "Oh, welcome home, father dear, to your halls and bowers, and welcome to you, our new queen. All that is here is yours." And she held out the keys to the castle to her. So graceful and beautiful was Margaret that a knight of the escort murmured admiringly, "Surely this princess is the loveliest of her kind." The queen flushed with jealousy and snapped, "You would do well to remember who is now the mistress of this castle." And to herself she muttered, "We'll see how lovely this child can be." That very same night, the queen stole soundlessly down to the castle's lonely dungeon, and there, in the deep darkness, she did her magic. 9 times 9 she passed her arms in front of herself, and 3 times 3 she chanted her magic spells. Into the darkness she whispered, "I will you to be a loathsome dragon, and returned you never shall be." Until Child Wind, the king's own son, comes to the hew and thrice kisses thee. And so it came to be that although Margaret went to sleep a fair princess, she awoke the next morning a loathsome dragon. The dragon slithered from its bed and crawled out of the castle. It wended its way to a giant rock called the Spindlestone Heugh, around which it coiled itself. And soon the country round about had reason to know of the loathsome dragon of Spindlestone Heugh, for hunger drove the monster from its resting place to wander the kingdom, devouring all in its path. So the people went to a mighty warlock to ask how to rid themselves of this frightening beast. The warlock consulted his books of magic and his scrolls of knowledge. Finally, drawing on his power, he told the people, "The loathsome dragon is really the Princess Margaret, and it is hunger that drives her forth. Put aside for her 7 cows, and each day as the sun goes down, carry every drop of milk they yield to the stone trough at the foot of the heugh, and the dragon will trouble you no longer. But if you will that she be returned to her natural shape, and that she who bespelled her be rightly punished, send over the seas for her brother, Child Wind." All was done as the warlock advised. The loathsome dragon lived on the milk of 7 cows, and the country was troubled no longer. When Child Wind received word of his sister's fate, he swore a mighty oath that he would not rest until he had rescued his sister and had taken vengeance on the witch who had cast the spell. 33 of his men took the oath with him. They built a great ship with a keel made of the magical rowan tree, and when all was ready, they set sail for Bamborough Castle. Now when the queen learned of Child Wind's approach, she summoned her magical wraiths and commanded, "Raise storms or bore the hull to sink his ship. Child Wind must never touch shore." But the ship's keel, made of the rowan tree, protected it against the queen's power. "Ah, so Child Wind comes prepared," the queen thought scornfully. "Let's see how well he can fight his own sister." 9 times 9 she passed her arms in front of herself, and 3 times 3 she chanted her magic spells. And when she had finished, she had cast a new spell. So long as Child Wind was on the sea, the loathsome dragon would wait by the entrance of the harbor and keep him from the land. The dragon slipped into the sea and ensnared the ship within its coils, and thus held it offshore. Child Wind thought, "This dragon cannot be Margaret, for she would never oppose me so." 3 times Child Wind attempted to land, urging his men to row bravely and strongly, but each time he encountered the loathsome dragon. Finally, Child Wind ordered the ship to put about. The queen laughed triumphantly. "So much for the brave and fearless Child Wind. Margaret shall remain the loathsome dragon forever." Child Wind, however, had not truly retreated, but had only rounded the next point to land safe and unseen at Boodle Creek. Seeing the loathsome dragon perched atop Spindlestone Heugh, he rushed forth, sword in hand. The loathsome dragon watched him advance, and yet did nothing. Still, not believing the beast could be Margaret, Child Wind was about to thrust his sword into the dragon's scaly side when the voice of his sister came from the dragon's jaws, saying, "Oh, quit your sword, forget your fear, and give me kisses 3. For though I am a poisonous beast, no harm I'll do to thee." Child Wind stayed his hand, not knowing what to think. Was there some witchery in it or not? Again, the Loathsome Dragon beseeched, "Oh, quit your sword, forget your fear, and give me kisses 3. If I'm not one ere set of sun, one never shall I be." Surely this was the most hideous creature Child Wind had ever seen, and yet, just as surely, he knew it was his sister's voice that came from its awful mouth. Hesitantly he approached the monstrous creature and abruptly brushed its head with his lips. Once, twice, thrice, he kissed the Loathsome Dragon. With a hiss and a roar, the Loathsome Dragon collapsed to the ground, revealing fair Margaret within its heart. Enfolding her in his cloak, Child Wind drew his sister forth. Together, Child Wind and Margaret returned to the castle. The queen stared in shock as they entered the main hall. Child Wind drew forth a twig of the magic rowan tree. A single touch, and the queen slowly shriveled into a loathsome toad. It croaked and it hissed and it hopped away down the castle steps. From that day on, free from enchantment, and with Child Wind and Margaret at his side, the king ruled his kingdom and all lived happily ever after. But to this very day, the loathsome toad can still be seen haunting the grounds of Bambara Castle, croaking in dismay whenever it sees itself. And that is the story of the Loathsome Dragon. There's a dragon in my wagon, his wagon tail is dragging from the wagon as I drag him down the street. There's a dragon in my wagon, I don't mean to be bragging about the best wagon dragon in a wagon you could meet. Some people like the dogs, some people like pet cats, some think a parakeet is sweet, but that's not where I'm at. Some people like pet bunnies, hamsters and gerbils too, but my pet is the best yet, believe me, 'cause it's true. That's why there's a dragon in the wagon, his wagon tail is dragging from the wagon as I drag him down the street. There's a dragon in my wagon, I don't mean to be bragging about the best wagon dragon in a wagon you could meet. Some people like pet frogs, some people like pet snakes, for some a little fish or two is really all it takes. Some people like pet spiders, or hermit crabs or snails, but they can't breathe much fire, they don't have 10-foot tails. That's why there's a dragon in the wagon, his wagon tail is dragging from the wagon as I drag him down the street. There's a dragon in my wagon, I don't mean to be bragging about the best wagon dragon in a